All right. Well, good Friday morning to everybody. This is the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, and I know it's been a couple days since we've done an episode, but just wanted to go live because it's Friday. There's been some interesting things that have occurred over the course of the last several days, including, but not limited to, the fact that here in South Carolina, we have had an outstanding number of people voting as of the close of the polls, and this is on Wednesday, not yesterday, Thursday. As of the close of the polls on Wednesday, 383,326 people had voted, which is just astronomical numbers for early voting here in South Carolina. That is fantastic. We won't get the update on the polls and the early voting closer and totals or whatnot for Thursday until probably around 10 o'clock this morning. That seems to be when the South Carolina State Department is updating their webpage. But just fantastic numbers. Georgia, excuse me, Georgia is coming in really strong with totals that now it looks like, let's see, they are reporting early voting numbers. I know between between North Carolina and Georgia, they've seen 4 million, and that was as of Wednesday. 4 million between North Carolina and Georgia. I mean, early voting is just going off the rails. I mean, it's incredible how many people are early voting, and ultimately, I think that's probably a good sign for Democrats, but don't get complacent. Um, it's better to look at these totals and say, okay, everyone's early voting. Maybe that's probably what I should do. I should probably go ahead and just early vote so that I'm taken care of as well. It's just so much simpler. You know, I'm hearing that in some cases across South Carolina, um, times are varying anywhere between 15 minutes of standing in line to an hour of standing in line. In some places, it sounds like the voting lines and the whole process for a lot of people has become more efficient as the days have gone past, which is really it's fantastic news because um, everyone that early votes isn't going to have to deal with the onslaught of people that waited, and it makes everything just so much easier. Just early vote. Coming to that, do want to share that as of today, uh, I can show everyone that as of today, Friday, October the 25th, every U.S. territory and state is now voting. And I can show you this very simply by clicking here and seeing that only E's exist. See, if I go here, like on Monday the 21st, there were still a few that weren't available. But yeah, so well, I may have messed this up. I did mess it up. Let's see how many states are actually available. I misspoke. And totally my fault. This is I'm usually much better with working on my spreadsheets. So we do still have some states that are not yet early voting, including the states that we see where uh, let's see, these are the states that there is no early voting: Alabama, New Hampshire, and I include North Dakota in there only because I don't know when North Dakota's early voting is available because you have to call per county, which is just asinine. Why doesn't the state just handle that? So, okay, so just to take a look, October the 25th, we're gonna go all the way down here, and we have 44 of 54 of the states are currently early voting, which is great. If you are in any one of these states, and we'll go ahead and name them because it takes up time and it makes the show a little longer: Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Georgia, Guam, Hawaii, Idaho, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, excuse or no excuse, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, yeah, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, the Virgin Islands, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Early voting is now open in 40 states and territories across the country. That is great news, and hopefully, as many people as possible are going to take advantage of that. So, I did want to remind everyone our episode with Matt Villardebeau is currently out. That came out on Monday. Terrific episode. Matt Villardebeau, of course, candidate for South Carolina House District 26 up there in York County. It's the Fort Mill area. The election itself, York County is coming in extremely strong. And I haven't gone back and researched to see exactly how those numbers match up to previous years. But in York County, as of Wednesday's closing, 26,987. So almost 27,000 people had voted in York County. And it's a big county. It's got a lot of people. And it's basically, a lot of people look at it as the suburb of Charlotte. But Fort Mill and York County, that's Rock Hill included, coming in really great with some super terrific totals on early voting. So if you haven't early voted yet, again, the whole idea here, early vote. You're going to appreciate the fact that come November 5th, you don't have to worry about going and standing in line. We don't know what the weather is going to be like on November 5th. I've seen some forecast modeling that seems to indicate that we may have another Helene type hurricane coming up the west side of Florida and potentially making its setting its eye on the southeast. It's a ways out, but because we're talking still 2 weeks away. Today's the 25th. So these are the type of things to consider. The weather's nice now. If you're here in South Carolina or Georgia or anywhere in the southeast, most of the country right now is experiencing pretty fair weather conditions. So early voting, just do it if you have it available. Here in South Carolina, it's open Monday through Saturday. So this week alone, you have today, you have Saturday, as well as all of next week and Saturday. So that's just genuinely the idea. Just go early vote. It's so much easier. I don't know that I'm going to try to approach this with a level of I'm trying to think of the word. I'm going to approach this with a level of intelligence that it requires. So me having worked the polls as a clerk for many elections, I'd like to think that I am pretty well versed in how the whole process works. And I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation. So when you go in, you scan your ID. They take your ID from you and they scan your ID. Okay, this is a picture ID, state issued picture ID. Once that's scanned, it brings up your information if you're in the right polling place. If you're not, then the chances are it probably gives some sort of a message. It does give, it says you're not found. They can then search by the county or they can search by the state. Ultimately, the election office for every county is open in case there are issues with finding individuals on the polling books. That aside, once you have successfully checked in and you have signed on the e-polling book that you are who you say you are, and that you understand that you can only vote once, and that voter fraud is a felony, that sort of thing, whatever. You sign and you are handed a blank piece of paper, which is your ballot, which will go into the ballot machine. Now, here's something to understand. The e-polling books, out of everything that is everything that is in your voting office, or where it is you're voting, your precinct, your polling location, or if it's early voting, wherever it is you are voting, there are there's one thing there is one thing attached to the internet, one thing, and that's the e-polling book. And the reason that that e-polling book is attached to the internet, and it's attached to the internet via a secured internet break, which every clerk is given for their polling locations. But the e-poll books are the only thing attached to the internet, and the only reason for that is so that every time someone checks in, it automatically updates the polling records that then say you have now checked in to vote and cast a vote. Okay. Sometimes there are errors. Maybe a ballot gets a bad print on it, has to be reprinted. But for the most part, every ballot issued, the number of ballots issued, will match the number of people that checked in to the polling location. That's it. That is how it works, and that's how it works for a majority of the entire rest of the country that have modern technology for their polling books and their voting machines. So, just to continue down the road of how the election occurs and how balloting works and things like that. So, you're issued your ballot. Uh, Barring there's no issues, you're issued your ballot, and then you are directed to a ballot writing machine, a ballot printing machine. Okay. Your ballot goes into the machine. You go through and read the instructions on the screen, and you make your choices, and then you cast your vote. So what you are doing is you're making your selections inside of the ballot machine. The ballot machine then asks you to confirm your choices after you've finished. It then prints those choices onto the ballot. So there is a paper ballot that has your choices printed out on it. It is your responsibility to look at that ballot and say, yes, these are the choices I made. But that's the second check in the system. That you validating what is on your ballot is the second time that you verified your choices. Because prior to you printing your ballot, it asks you to verify your choices electronically on the screen. Okay. It says you go through your choices, and you find that if there's been a mistake, you can go back and you can redo your choice, and then you come back to that verification screen. But either way, don't print your ballot until you verify that your choices, your selections, are what are showing up on the screen, and then second check them when it's printed. Look at the ballot. Okay. The only reason I say this is because there is a continued amount of misinformation going around that the balloting machines, the machines that write the votes to the piece of paper, are changing people's votes. And I have to shake my head at this because what show me your experience. You know, if you truly believe that a ballot machine has changed your vote, did you cast that vote, or did you go and talk to the polling clerk and say, hey, I didn't make these selections? And if you did, get pictures of it. Like, make sure that the county elections office has documented this very well. It's not happening. I'm just going to say this isn't happening. There haven't been any balloting machines that have been hacked. They're not attached to the internet. They're not specifically, choosing one ballot here or one ballot there. It's not a random choice sort of thing where they're changing votes. It's not happening. And I get defensive about it. I even made a comment on a Facebook post because someone decided that they were going to, I guess, try and point out that they think I don't know what I'm talking about. I do. I have worked the elections enough. I know how the system works. I know that the system that we currently have, with the technology we have available, the checks and balances we have, the fact that every single poll worker gets trained the same, and we all have such a respect for what it is we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't volunteer to do it. Uh, that we know that we are not doing anything to cause an issue with an election. Here's the other thing: even if it were happening, unless it was happening on a mass scale, which we know it's not because it's not been reported. I think I saw one. There may have been one report recently that was forwarded to me by a friend, actually a me from the Welcome to Wonderland podcast. Um, she sent me a link to an article where someone said that that their ballot had been changed from the point of verification to the point that they printed it, that their ballot had been changed, and ultimately it was recognized that this was a user error. That person didn't verify their selections. They printed their ballot without verifying their selections, and ultimately, what printed out was incorrect based on what they thought their choices should have been. And that's one out of millions and millions that have voted. I can't even express to you how low a percentage of that is, and that's user error. I guarantee you that's user error. It's just the rampant uh, availability for people to get noticed by making false claims on the election is, you know, this is the United States is good at elections. The United States as a whole. And this idea that there is some sort of nefarious act going on to try and prevent Donald Trump from getting elected is utterly ridiculous. And I sincerely hope that when Kamala Harris, I don't think it's going to be on the 5th. I think that it's probably going to be on the 6th or the 7th, maybe as far away as the 8th. But once Kamala Harris is the president elect, I really hope that there will be a period of quiet, a period of peace, where everyone can just say, yep, she was elected. That's it. I really hope that's how it happens. It's probably not going to be that way. I know. Um, I'm going to be severely disappointed because I've put it out there into the universe, and that's not how it's going to happen. That's just the way it is. So, um, misinformation. If someone makes a false claim, you have every right to fact check them. Okay, there's no reason not to. This is the spreading of misinformation like this is just absurd. And anytime somebody says something that is so outrageously absurd, just call them on it. You don't have to be defensive about it. You don't have to just ask them. Just say, hey, that's a pretty wild claim. Show me your sources. You know, um, and then if they give you sources, you can either choose to believe them or you can choose to say, hey, I looked up this guy and he's on the list of the Department of Justice, indicating that he is an employee of the Russian Federation, that his podcast or whatever is paid for by the Russian government. There's no Do your due diligence to stop the spread of misinformation. Okay, that's all I'm asking. All right, so we're looking at a couple new episodes coming out. Episode number 29 will come out on Monday. This is an interview that Zach and I did with Carl Smith on voter engagement and education. So kind of leading into what I've been talking about this morning a little bit with misinformation and such. We actually recorded 2 episodes with Carl. So the first one will come out this following Monday, which will be the 28th. And then the following Monday on November the 3rd. Yes, the day before the election. I think that's right. Yes. I take that back. What day is that? It says November 1st. Now I have to look. I don't want to be wrong. The episode will drop on Monday, November the 4th, not the 3rd, November the 4th. Unless, of course, you are a nothinger and you support us monthly by signing up and giving us 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever dollars amount a month. If you do that, you can find links to that at our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. Also, want to remind everybody to go out and check out zjzdesigns.com for t-shirts. Now, I know Halloween is coming up next week. So your choice is to get some Halloween shirts. There's a possibility you may not get them in time, but go check today, zjzdesigns.com. Also, absolutely some stunning t-shirt and sweatshirt and such designs for Thanksgiving that absolutely will be appropriate for wearing on Thanksgiving to whatever function is you're going to. So check that out, zjzdesigns.com. I will have one here in a few days, and I guarantee you when I do one of my next kind of daily shows that I'll be wearing it. It's my Tommy the Turkey shirt. So I'm excited. I think it'll be neat. Let's see what else. I don't think I have anything else to shout out, really. Not really a whole lot more. Just, please consider subscribing to the show. If you can, share it with your friends, family, whatnot. I know I come across as liberal, but really it's not just for the sake of being liberal. It's because based on my experience and based on my observations of the world, this is how I see it. And I think that any rational person would look at it the same as me. And a lot of you do. And if you don't, we can have a conversation about it. You can reach out to us. Email address is theShow@theallaboutnothing.com. You can find me. My email address is barrett@theallaboutnothing.com. Feel free. I don't mind having a conversation. I'll even have you on the show. We can talk about it. We can do it right here. So, all right, everybody, you all have a good Friday. Go and follow us on TikTok. You can, I think it's, you can follow me on TikTok at Barrett Gruber. I try to put out content fairly often right now, especially about when the numbers come out for the elections, South Carolina mostly. But, I think sometimes I'm funny on there. So it's going to do it. Thank you very much for listening. You all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.